Hey, 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 good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Here we are. Happy TGIF, everyone. We made it through another week. We made it through another week in this crazy, bizarro world that we are living in. I want to thank everybody right now who's jumping on the live stream and joining us. I am here with virtual power networker and rock star from across the pond, which is why we're going so early this morning, at least early for me. Mr. Mark Jarrett, how are you, sir? Thank you so much, and welcome to the show.
Yeah, hi Chris. Thanks for having me. Have you had your breakfast yet?
I'm having my breakfast right now. I'm joined by my fellow co-pilot R2D2, who's giving me liquid support this morning, as always. That's how I start every day. But after I'm done here, I'll be eating my breakfast. I'll be having my banana and my apple.
I recently acquired a lightsaber umbrella.
Nice.
Which changes color. So I'm quite looking forward to dark, rainy nights. Bring it on.
I need Bring it on, man. Umbrella. It'd be even better if it actually worked as an actual lightsaber too, where you could it actually was a full-on functioning lightsaber. That would be amazing.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. So I want to thank you again for coming on, and thank you everybody right now who's watching and streaming. Please feel free to join in on the chat. Send your questions. We'll answer them as we go along. Always happy to do that. Want to say hello to my friends on LinkedIn right now, my friends on Facebook, and my friends on YouTube who are watching this live. Please do me a favor. Of course, if you're watching this on LinkedIn, please connect with me there. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. That is a huge help. And then after this is done, if you want to share it with your friends, hit a like, share it around. That's great, because not only does it help me, but it also helps the guests I'm on, like Mark here today. And we're going to be talking about some really excellent information. And it actually corresponds with how I even met Mark in the first place. So it just goes through the power of networking. And I will say, since the pandemic has started, like all of us, it's forced us all to adopt technology and use technology in ways that maybe we're just kind of casually using it before, but it really has forced us now to integrate it as part of our daily lives, but also as part of our daily business lives. And one of the ways that has been an incredible resource for me, it has been virtual networking. And not just on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn's been a huge part, but also diving into a lot of the virtual apps that are out there. Like, I'm part of several networking groups that are on Slack, and I know there's people out there that are using Slack. But the one that in particular we want to talk about today, and we're happy with talking about all of them, but the one we really wanted to focus on today is WhatsApp. And that's how I actually met Mark, through virtual networking, and it was through a Facebook group that I was introduced to. Somebody in a Facebook group then introduced me to the WhatsApp group that Mark runs, and that's how I met Mark. And I always knew about WhatsApp previously, but never really fully took advantage of it until really this year. And Mark has really helped me to hone my skills on WhatsApp and to help me really develop a network. And in which case, I've not only am I in part of Mark's networks, but I've also been able to develop my own networks too, and it has been very effective. So I want to have Mark on. He is a WhatsApp, I'm going to call him a WhatsApp networking guru. So wanted to get him on to talk about that and answer any of your questions. And Mark, we're going to dive in, man. Take it away. Take it away, my friend.
I will. Yeah. Hi, everyone. I've been extolling the virtues of virtual networking long before this bug thingy came along. It's clean, leaves zero carbon footprint. It's free because we all pay the internet anyway. But best of all, I love the globality of it. If you go to a networking event in Chicago, you're only going to meet people from the Illinois area. Online, the world is our oyster. And Chris and I have been meeting people from all over the world. I love the globality of it. Now, WhatsApp is the world's #1 messaging platform. 2 billion people use it globally. The one country that doesn't use it so much is its birthplace, the United States of America. So there's a huge paradox there. At first, it annoyed me, but now I see it as an enormous opportunity. Last week, I showed 3 Americans how to use WhatsApp, and it opened up their eyes to a whole new world, literally. And I started introducing them to people almost instantly. And I call, I think of WhatsApp as a kind of conduit between LinkedIn and places like Zoom and Remo, where the real magic happens. We can actually see and hear the people in real time. I sometimes call LinkedIn the world's least social media, because the interaction on LinkedIn isn't instant. You have to wait for stuff to happen. Whereas on WhatsApp, which of course is owned by Facebook, the action is instant. So I run 158 WhatsApp groups. Each group has got its own theme. Good Chris here is in the legendary Virtual International Pub. That's the one group that doesn't have a theme.
No, it doesn't. That group, and that was my first group. That was the first group I was in where I got introduced to, and that was like, holy cow! Like, talk about like drinking from a fire hose. But I got to be honest with you, as jam packed as that group is, with so many people, and I've met so many folks through that group, not only just globally, but here in the United States. But I will say that because of that group, that singular group, I have probably connected with more people globally than I think I have in my 20 years of doing business. And I say that from the most honest place. I really have. I mean, I've connected with people from all over the world, not just from England and Europe, but also, New Zealand, Australia. I mean, places that I would have never thought of, connecting with somebody and networking and developing like really meaningful relationships with people. And it's because of this app. It's pretty impressive. And I almost, it's always what you don't know, right? So I kind of regret not using it more seriously, for the last few years. But, it often takes something like this to change your mindset and to say, you know what, I'm going to start doing something new and adopt it and embrace change. And then lo and behold, I'm creating relationships all over the world. It's outstanding.
And you're using it on your computer, aren't you?
That's correct. I'm actually using it on my phone and my computer. So then that way, when I'm, I kind of go back and forth. So if I'm working on my desktop, and it's just easy to kind of go back and forth all day, and then I have it on my phone. So it's synced both ways. So I'm just always connected. And, for people that are like, oh, it's a distraction, things like that. Well, I mean, no, there's ways you could do that. I mean, you could turn mute off, especially in the virtual pub where there's like, I mean, how many members are in there, Mark? Like, it feels like there's a billion. I know there's not. But
the maximum allowed is 256. And we're nearing that number.
Yeah.
Some amazing people in there, including Nouriel Roubini, one of the world's leading economists, C-level, record breakers, but most of them are entrepreneurs in business for themselves, like you and me, Chris.
Right.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I see you're in Marijuana Magic.
That's correct.
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. It's all about sharing information. And at the end of the day, Chris, business boils down to two things. That's people and trust.
Correct.
So what I'm doing is building and curating ecosystems in which people feel safe to get to know each other and ultimately go on to forge friendships and hopefully transactions. Because we're all business people, right?
Absolutely.
And ultimately, we want to make money, but make money in a spirit of trust and cooperation. So I'm hashtag social selling. I'm all about building those relationships first, and then the money will come. That's why I'm a little bit anti multi-level marketing, because MLM is transactional from the get-go. And that's why MLM people are quite pushy. Whereas I'm all about building those human connections first and then moving on to business later.
Right. Absolutely. And so, I think it's important to talk about, though, too, like WhatsApp and how to use it. I mean, listen, self-admittedly, there is some clunkiness to the app, as far as the features go. But it's relatively very easy to log on and get going, right? I mean, there's not
I
much
much
of a
prefer
barrier
it.
there.
Yeah, I prefer it to Facebook itself. I think Facebook, I mean, everyone's got their own thing, right? Their own
Correct.
favorite platform. Some people worship Facebook. Personally, I find Facebook a little bit too sophisticated. There are too many bells and whistles. Every time I log in, I see so many notifications. I find it a bit confusing. Relative to that, WhatsApp is simple. It's not that difficult at all. And so I'm on a mission at the moment to teach Americans how to use WhatsApp, and more importantly, to introduce them to amazing people like you, Chris.
Thank you. And you said something too, which I also want to talk about a little bit, because when you were talking about the groups that you've created, right? And I think a lot of times people will just think like, okay, here's just a group with a ton of different entrepreneurs and mixed businesses. But you've actually taken it a little bit of a step further. So yes, while you do have these groups that feature entrepreneurs and owners and people from independent professionals from all different industries, you have also created these niche groups, these groups that are very industry specific. And those are
Absolutely.
groups like you may not even know, yourself about that industry, but you've created a group for people, like-minded people in those industries to be able to, connect.
Absolutely. I don't know anything about biotech. It's way beyond me. But what I do know is that when you get two or more people in the same virtual room that have an interest in biotech, it's more likely to lead to a meeting of minds and a possible friendship and or transaction.
Right.
So in some ways, the more niche, the better.
Mm.
Tech won't cut it, but agri-tech or fintech or property tech or sex tech, even,
Right.
Heather, she's in there. She's the sex tech goddess.
Yes.
Then you're more likely to have a synergistic meeting of minds in those groups. So, yeah.
And what I think is interesting too, because a lot of times what I see, and the people I work with, I'm sure people you've worked with as well, is not everybody's a born networker, right? And some people who are very like extroverted and have that, like when they don't do very well and like, hey, I'm in a room, when we're doing in-person networking, it's hard. It's hard for people who are not used to that to just go up and start being so outgoing and dive into conversations.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I think where, we've seen a lot of virtual networking and even, people on Zoom have been able to kind of overcome that a bit. But I think a thing like a WhatsApp, that's a very useful tool for people who aren't necessarily, confident in going out and meeting people in person in that way. And so this is a way for people who have that sort of that extroverted sense to be able to participate, develop relationships and be part of something rather than kind of having that fear of like, well, I don't want to go all the way into New York City or, drive like, an hour away to go hang out at this group with a bunch of people I don't know in person. I feel like this gives everybody a little bit more like, well, I can do.
Absolutely. I put a poll out on LinkedIn a few months ago. Do you enjoy networking? And about half the people, exactly half the people said yes, networking rocks. And about 20% said yes, they do enjoy networking, but they just don't have the time normally.
Right.
And the others found it intimidating. They don't enjoy networking. It's a bit like public speaking.
Mm-hmm.
It's not for everyone. So in such a case, they can hire people like me to network on their behalf. And another target market of mine are the ultra high net worth crowd, because the last place on earth they would want to be is in a WhatsApp group, because they are quite they don't want to be, they want to be in the background, and they would rather have someone like me to network on their behalf, essentially. Going back to what you were saying about some people not enjoying it, and I put another poll on LinkedIn. A lot of people actually prefer virtual networking to real world or in-person networking, particularly women, because they're more in control. In-person networking, you might end up with a situation where you don't feel comfortable or you're locked in with someone.
Right.
With virtual networking, you can just click away, so to speak.
Right, right. And you actually have that group too, the Powerful Women Networking. I forgot what the full name is, but you have that where it's a women's pretty much a women's only networking group, right?
Let me tell you my ethos. Okay.
I want to share that with everybody.
The ethos I have is open, random, and supportive, ORS, and it's the antithesis of corporate thinking. So corporates tend to be quite closed and secretive, and I'm the precise opposite of that. Warts and all, it cuts through all the BS and I think it helps with the connecting of people. Also, diversity and inclusion is quite important to me. And so to keep I don't want my groups full of just white Caucasian men. I want them mixed up with all kinds of people throughout the world. And helping women is something I also feel very strongly about. I find it outrageous that women are paid less money to do the same job as men. I just can't get my head around that.
It makes no sense.
No sense at all. And recent events have proven that women are actually better leaders than men. I mean, look at how they've handled the pandemic. It's women leaders that have taken the lead on that. And Absolutely. Also, 3% of venture capitalists are women. I mean, who do we think we are, us men? I don't know what's going on there, but things have really improved during my lifetime. But evidently, we've still got a long way to go. So I'm helping women with some niche groups as well, like women engineers, getting them together. And the Powerful Women group is full of extraordinary people doing great things. Men are actually allowed in there in the interests of diversity and inclusion, but only if they invite a woman.
Good. Well, that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
So we got a question here from Michael Lichman. Do you think networking has changed forever due to this lockdown time period?
Yes, I do, and I think that work generally has changed. Here and in the US, there's something called the rush hour, where you get thousands of people cramming into trains and cars to head into the cities. When you think about it, it's not a particularly clever way to do things. And a lot of bosses now are realizing that this remote working works. And Twitter have recently announced that their staff can work at home ad infinitum, as long as they want. And more companies are going down that way. Right. And the same with networking. We are all social animals, and what we're all collectively going through right now is just not normal. To network at distance, at 2 meters distance, is counterintuitive and oxymoronic. It's a bit like trying to dance with someone at distance. It just doesn't work. So to answer your question, I think it's around. It will, irrespective of the pandemic, virtual networking rocks. But now that we are in a pandemic situation, it's the only way to network.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely the safest way and a way to stay, as connected as possible. And I think when things do, get back to some whatever normalcy is, and everybody's excited about the news with the vaccine this week, which is very exciting. I mean, to have two companies release vaccines that have the effectiveness that they're claiming to be is, once again, a marvel of human ingenuity and science. I mean, there you go. Like, what happens when we as humans can come together and have a collective goal and put our minds together? It's absolutely extraordinary what we when we want to, what we can create together, rather than destroying things. So kudos to all the brilliant minds behind us who are trying to save humanity at this point. But I think once that and everybody sees what happens, and once again, listen, a vaccine is not a cure. It's a vaccine. It's a preventative measure. But I think it'll make people feel more comfortable. I think when we get to that point, though, I don't think virtual networking is going anywhere. I think we're just going to see much more of a hybrid kind of an experience. Like, for instance, one of the things that I'm doing is I do have an in-person networking group called the Business Exchange, and while now we're meeting virtually twice a week, we were in person, but through this, and this is because of you, Mark, so thank you, is that I created a WhatsApp extension of that group. So we meet twice a month, every other Thursday in the morning, and then we communicate all throughout the week on WhatsApp, staying in touch with each other, sending each other leads, introductions, fun stuff, motivation, making each other laugh. It's a great way to build this sense of community. And there's not a lot of us. There's maybe like 18 of us in this group, but it's been a wonderful way to stay connected during this. And that's a part of that if we do, when we do, not if, but when we do get back to meeting actually in person as a group, that WhatsApp group is going to stay there. I mean, it's not going away. It's not going to be shut down. And I got a feeling it's probably going to become more relevant when we get back to sort of meeting in person type of a thing. So that's definitely something that I feel like is going to be much more standard going forward. And, the ability to jump on Zoom and have, like, what I say, 15-minute virtual coffees with people and, chats like that. I mean, it's so easy, Mark. Like, you and I've had the experience so many times of, like, we're in the group and you're able to make a quick introduction for me to somebody in that group that I'm interested in meeting, and vice versa. Hey, Chris, can you introduce me to so-and-so? And it's been so easy to just do that, and then being able to connect, and then you take it to LinkedIn and integrate LinkedIn to it. And it just creates, as you said the word before, an ecosystem.
LinkedIn actually plays a key role in all of this because, of course, it's like a resume. People can see what you do for a living and what your career history and whatnot. So when people join the groups, I always get them to include their LinkedIn URL in the introduction, and then they find that their LinkedIn kind of explodes because people are reaching out to them on LinkedIn. But the immediacy of WhatsApp is what sets it apart from LinkedIn. But going back to what you were just saying about real world events, a couple of years ago, I went to a real world networking event called Women in Business. Mm-hmm. And I set up a WhatsApp group prior to that event to get some pre-show networking going virtually prior to the real event. So when the real event actually arrived, the ice had already been broken in a way because we had been chatting away prior to the event. So it's a good icebreaker to get to know people before an event. And then after the event, we continued networking in there. So it's a nice way to top and tail networking on a real and associate it with the real world event when they come back.
That's actually a really interesting idea, and I really like that, because I think too, and I think you could tie that into any event, especially I think too. Listen, if anybody's watching, this is some real time brainstorming going on right now. You better be taking notes. But I mean, even if you're hey, you're doing a big webinar coming up, or a little mini con or something like that, to be able to create like a WhatsApp group prior, invite everybody you know, and then even during the event, hey everybody. Keep the conversation going. We have a WhatsApp group. Feel free to join. Here's the link, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then now you're getting that the pre-show buzz, the during the show, and then after show. And you're keeping this conversation going, all the while being able to create meaningful relationships with people and keeping yourself top of mind, engaging an audience, which always down the line will result in business one way or the other. And that's the thing. I think people forget so much about, like, how important it is to develop meaningful relationships. The transaction part, the part of doing business, will come later, but like that just should never be exactly. Like you're like, listen, we're all in business. Yes, we all need to make money and generate revenue. Like, but that comes out of a lot of what you said was that the positive mindset, doing good. Like you can create money. You can make money by doing good things, creating meaningful relationships, doing good by others, maintaining of a positive mental attitude, and spreading that with people And that's where I feel like virtual networking really helps to permeate that, like, all the time. You can really just the ability, like even today, just to kind of jump in the group and say, I was like, hey, congratulations, everybody. We made it through another week of, being entrepreneurs and owners. Congratulate yourselves. Take the time to thank others who have helped to get you there, and and thank your clients for keeping you in business, for trusting you and liking you so much. And and I think that's to be able to just do that and send it out to like 200 people all at once. If somebody reads that and puts a smile on their face, like, mission accomplished.
Right, 24/7, 365. These environments never close. And by the way, I've just recently launched neverendingnetworking.com, which is
right. That's right.
The same, but takes it to a whole new level, because there's something called Remo, which I call Zoom on steroids. It replicates a real world networking environment with stage, 20 tables, breakout areas, and that way, those breakout rooms in Zoom?
Yes.
I call them virtual prisons.
It does feel like that.
Once you're in one, you can't move around like you would in real life. You're at the behest of the organizer, and you're a rock star too, Diana.
Yeah. She's amazing. Actually, Diana is the one that introduced me to you. That's how I know you. Diana, awesome. In that Facebook group, and introduced me to you. So she is amazing.
And she's based in Essen in West Germany, where strangely I lived for a while in my youth or my younger years. And when I first engaged with Diana, I said, are you near the Gilderhof Center where I used to work? And she went down there and took a picture, and it was amazing. She totally gets networking. And in that respect, she's not very German, because the Germans aren't, but she's got a love affair with your country, as have I. What I love about America is it's okay to fail. And if you do make it in the United States, you've made it. I mean, we all know that the US is number one. And that's one of the things. If you make it in the States, people will pat you on the back. But here in the UK, they treat you with a bit more suspicion and arguably jealousy. But yeah, great country. Love it. And I love your diners as well.
Oh, yes, the diners. Well, and diners are very, like, that's a very East Coast, like, especially Jersey, New York, like, we've got, I would say New Jersey's got the market cornered on diners, man. We've got diners every like 3 feet here. So that's a core New Jersey culture thing. Now we're very proud of our diners.
Well, my mentor and father figure is a guy called Eugene Gottesman, who founded and then sold the New York Yellow Pages. Mm-hmm. And then in 1985, he created the Gottesman Company, which has grown to become America's largest network of independent mergers and acquisitions brokers, M&A brokers. He's 91 now. He's sharper than most people half his age. And he goes to the Sherwood Diner in Westport in Connecticut, where I had, I think, the best breakfast I've ever had. Highly recommended.
There you go, man. No, diner food is by far a cuisine to its own. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Have a nice day.
If you've never experienced it, you got to experience it when you come stateside, for sure. I wanted to get back to another thing you were talking about too when it comes to a thing like Remo, because I also love too how you do in the groups, which I think is key, is the fact that like we could jump into a Remo room. You pretty much have that open like anytime. So if people want to take advantage of it and do a 1-to-1 or a group, quick, hey, let's just do a discussion, a roundtable discussion. I love how people could just take that there. And I think that's a cool feature to have when you're part of these groups is to be able to have that ability to like jump into something like that, see each other face very quickly and have a spirited discussion or talk business like in a way that, even though it's 1-to-1, not in person, but still one-to-one.
Absolutely, because WhatsApp rocks, but it's primarily text-based. Remo and Zoom take things to a whole new level where you can actually see and hear the people. It's the next best thing to meeting them in person, face to face.
Yeah, agreed. And I also love too, like you were saying before, it is a 24/7 atmosphere, especially the pub. But I love the fact because it's like, the time zone. So it's like, it's kind of cool in the morning, like waking up, flipping it open. And yeah, I know there's like, I could have like 30 missed messages, but it's kind of neat to scroll back and see like how just activity and just it just keeps going and going and going. And then, your global partners, across the way. And it's just like, it's just really cool to be able to interact with people in that way and see like, oh, like, and by the time my day's getting going, like your day's sort of winding down and all that. But I do find that very interesting and being able to have those chats with people.
It's a blessing and a curse. This 24/7 always on global village on the whole is a good thing.
Yeah.
But you've got to educate yourself to switch off from time to time and connect with nature, which is what I'm going to do tomorrow. Have a digital detox. When else did you have a digital detox, Chris?
I need to do one. Because I feel like my face has been buried in my computer and in my phone for a while. I actually finally broke down and got a pair of these bad boys. Because the blue light lenses, because I'm just getting to a point now where I'm spending so much time in a digital world that my eyes are just like straining at the end of the day with like all the blue rays invading it. So, but it is going to be time for a digital detox.
Well, don't pay for one. Whatever you do, don't pay, because I've seen digital detoxes where people pay to go on the digital detox. Don't do it, Chris. It's called the off button, and it's on the right of your phone. Just switch off your cell phone. Yeah.
I do. You know what? At night, usually by 10 o'clock, my do not disturb's on, and that's it. And I usually will just throw music on and call it a day, or a podcast or something like that. So that's.
I've got a real love-hate relationship with smartphones. On the one hand, they do so much and they're such powerful tools, but paradoxically, they're killing off the communications that matter the most, human ones. Because I don't know about in the States, but here, you walk down the street, people just are constantly staring at these devices and not talking to each other anymore. But I spent the rump of my career in telecoms. I was first to market with ringtones and logos back in the days when every other person had a Nokia. Yeah. And then I launched a celebrity chatline service where people could call and speak to celebrities to raise money for good causes. And it was everywhere for a while. It was on Howard Stern, CNN, ABC, Wendy Williams show, because it combines celebrity and technology. Unfortunately, the celebrities kept all the money, which defeated the whole object. The object was to raise money for good causes. But anyway, at least I tried.
You tried. Well, you tried. You tried. You started from a really good place, and then you couldn't control what happened afterwards. You know what? And a question that I get now too, because I've been out there promoting WhatsApp and saying, hey, I'm using and group something. But I think for people out there who may be listening to this, one of the questions I do get, and I think you may have some good advice on that, is if someone's on WhatsApp, how do they find a group? Like you were talking about the niche groups. How does somebody even begin to find that? I mean, is it strictly word of mouth and asking, hey, does anybody know a group how does one find a group that they would like to belong to on WhatsApp?
These are all private groups, and it's important to keep them private, Chris. We don't want any bad players in those groups. So that's why I always tell people, keep the invite links private. Never put them on the internet, make them public. So we want to keep the groups full of good people, not bad people. Typically what happens is people come to me by referral or through LinkedIn. With LinkedIn, I can vet them and screen them and see who they are and what they do. And then I get them to write an intro saying, "Hi everyone, my name's Chris. I do this, I want that, and a fun fact," and include the LinkedIn URL. They send that to me, and if it looks okay, then I start sending them the invite links.
So then the best thing to do, so for anybody out there is listening to this right now, the best thing to do then would be to connect with you directly and say, hey, Mark, I'd love to learn about 100 and was it 39, 37 groups that you
158.
158 groups that you're running or part of that you've created. I would love to be in a group that specializes in XYZ. Would you be able to connect me? And of course,
well, I send them a menu of all my groups, okay. And then they tell me which ones resonate, and then I send them the links. Yeah.
And this is and I'm gonna is this just a service that you love doing? I mean, is this a quote unquote free service for you that if someone reaches out to you, you're not gonna then say, hey, well, that's to be in this group, it's $500 to join or something like that.
No, I'm a pay it forward kind of guy, although several people have suggested to me that I start charging access to the groups. But as it stands, it's all free. But I do offer paid for services of training people how to network virtually. And if they retain my services, then I proactively, they've got me 7 days a week, including weekends, and I proactively go out on their behalf and facilitate introductions, because my network is enormous and full of amazing people like you, Chris.
Well, thank you, and I really appreciate having met you. And it's only been, I think, probably over the last like 3 months, or probably since maybe August that we actually connected. So it's been quite a whirlwind. I can't even believe it's only been a few months since we've connected, because it feels like we've known each other for quite some time. But I think that's what happens when you meet like-minded people who share a lot of the same values and principles you do, and it's just like an immediate connection. So I would say at this point, what is the best way for people to reach out to you then, to ask you and say, hey, can I be a part of this group? Can I see a menu? How do I get involved with the things that you're doing? What's the best way for people to connect with you, Mark?
Take an educated guess, Chris.
I'm going to say they can connect with you on WhatsApp, and they can also connect with you on the LinkedIn.
Yeah, those are the best two. I try and avoid email like the plague.
I know you do.
Yeah.
Whereas in America, email seems to be like the still like everybody uses email, and I mean you have to, but really uses email for like group communications.
When you and I do some deal, it could be that we do a deal in the future in construction, in oil and gas, or real estate, orange juice. Who knows? Who cares?
Who knows? Who cares?
If we can find a counterparty to any given situation and broker a deal, then we need a contract with the people that we're helping. That's when we use email.
No, it makes sense, because then it's just it's a paper trail. I mean, and it's good, and you can follow it, so it is good. Yeah. If it's in email, it exists.
Yeah, no, but for chit chat, like in the pub, for example, can you imagine if we did that by email? Well, a nightmare.
Oh God, forget it. It's impossible. And on top of that, I wouldn't even want that to be on like my just normal text service. Doing all that chit chat through just normal text, like as a text group, would drive me absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Like I would just leave that group. But like the benefits of the WhatsApp group is you can control the size of it. So, even if it is 5 people, 6 people, like great, that's fine. You can control, but if you do it where it's up, 200, 256, the best way to control that is mute the group for yourself. So you're not.
Oh, that's a given. Mute the group. And if you do wake up in the morning and see 128 missed messages, don't panic. Don't try and backpedal. My job is to act as your filter. So if something regarding podcasting crops up, and I've done this already, have you noticed? I take a screenshot.
You do.
And I send it to you privately. Mm-hmm. So don't you dare mute me. And and then you can dive back into the discussion at the relevant point.
Right.
I don't expect people to keep up with all this activity. I mean, it's what you guys call a time suck.
Yes.
Your time is best spent doing other things. My job is to keep an eye on all this activity and act as your filter.
Yeah, well said. Well said. So with that, we're gonna wrap it up for today. I really appreciate you coming on today, Mark, spending some time with us and sharing your information and your insight. I urge everybody out there who's watching this right now or rewatching this on a replay, and eventually we'll be listening to this as an audio podcast, to please connect with Mark Jarrett. You can find him on WhatsApp. You can find him on LinkedIn. He's very easy. He's an easy guy to find and connect with.
Not if I don't give them my number.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Can I give them my number?
That's your call, man. You can give them your number.
Okay, so my number, folks, is plus, which is the IDD sign for international, 44 for the UK, and then 7906 786505. I'll repeat that. So it's country code 447906 786505. Just ping me a message on WhatsApp, and then we can get the dialogue going there. Or, as Chris said, search for me on LinkedIn. So it's Mark with a C, Jarrett, Jarrett, and we'll connect there.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mark will, if you connect with Mark and you're interested in joining any of the groups, he'll vet you out. So I went through the process, and it's cool because it all works to everybody's advantage to be able to make sure there's no nefarious folks trying to get into these groups and cause some problems. So and as a member of several of the groups, I will say they are quality groups. I've met a lot of quality people. There's a lot of excellent information being exchanged between the members of the groups, and I know Mark does not tolerate any nonsense in there. So I've seen him toss people out immediately and remove them from the groups.
What are you on about? I promote nonsense.
Yeah, well, yeah, but you know what I'm talking about. Some real nonsense, because every now and then someone skates by, and you just got to say, "Hey, you're out of here."
Politics and religion are a no-no because I find it too binary and divisive. But Diana, and sometimes I break my own rules, and Diana has been great at keeping me on track. But yeah, no, I try and keep the mood quite light and fluffy and humorous, because what we're all collectively going through right now is traumatic. So it's important to have a bit of fun along the way while we make these connections. And it takes time, Chris. We're talking about human beings here. You can't get to know them instantly. It takes time, but it's it's a fun journey, and I look forward to connecting those dots with you.
Yes, absolutely. And once again, I do appreciate you coming on and including me in your network. It's been wonderful. I've learned a lot, and I've met a lot of great people, and it's because of this. So for everybody out there, yes, rock it, man. Absolutely, 100%. So for everybody out there who's listening to this, if you don't have WhatsApp, please go download it, throw it on your phone, and get ready to rock it, man. Get ready to meet some people. Get ready to meet some super rock stars. And mostly everybody I've met so far has been great and really wants to help. So definitely participate in the global community, or start your own community using WhatsApp. It's very easy to do. Very simple to get going. And and Mark and myself are always happy to show people how to get going if you want that kind of help. I offer it for free. I'm happy to do it. I just want to promote good vibes. So with that being said, thank you everybody so much for watching today. I so appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for everybody who commented today and comments on the shows when I do them, who likes and subscribes to the channels, connects with me on LinkedIn. Please make sure, if you thought this content was very valuable to yourself, please feel free to share it with anybody else out there that you feel like would benefit from listening or watching this content. And with that, I will say thank you guys so much. Be authentic, be yourself, and always remember to rock it.